All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Definitely.
Today, we're heading back to Middle-earth,
Always a good place to be.
but with a twist.
Wow.
We're not just talking about The Lord of the Rings itself, we're going behind the scenes,
Sounds intriguing.
looking at how it was written, the real-life events that shaped it, all that good stuff.
I like it.
And we've got Tolkien's own letters, essays, those sorts of things, alongside the actual text of Fellowship.
Setting those side by side is going to be really revealing, I think.
You'll see there's some surprising connections there that, well, maybe you haven't thought about before.
Can't wait to see where we end up.
Like, did you realize it took Tolkien over a decade to write The Lord of the Rings?
13 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly, 13 years. And World War II, that happened right in the middle of that process.
A lot was going on in the world, and it definitely impacted him.
So we're going to trace that timeline, the book's creation, alongside, Frodo's journey.
A parallel journey of sorts.
Plus, we'll dig up some, I think, pretty surprising facts about characters, objects, places, all those details that maybe add a whole new layer to how you understand Middle-earth.
I think listeners are going to be surprised by how much Tolkien packed into the story.
Oh, absolutely.
So about those 13 years.
Right.
It's fascinating how Tolkien's own life is kind of interwoven with, the very fabric of Middle-earth.
Right.
I mean, most people know it took him over a decade to write The Lord of the Rings, but...
They don't always realize just how much was crammed into those 13 years, right?
Yeah. From 1936 to 1949.
Yeah.
It was filled with, well, like I said, personal triumphs,
Yeah.
but also global turmoil.
Okay, so Tolkien wasn't just holed up in a writing den for 13 years straight.
No, not at all.
Give us some context. What else was going on in his life?
He had a lot going on. He was a scholar and a teacher.
Really?
A full academic career.
Wow.
And he was really passionate about language.
Makes sense, right? Creating all those languages for Middle-earth.
Exactly. His expertise in philology, that's the study of how languages evolve.
Right.
Well, it played a huge role in shaping Middle-earth.
That's so cool. So he wasn't just writing stories, he was constructing entire languages.
That's the amazing part. For his elves, dwarves, all those creatures.
Talk about dedication. But I'm curious about those outside pressures, especially World War II. That started while he was writing.
Right.
How did that affect the story?
Now that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
So by the end of 1939, he had just reached the end of Book One.
The Fellowship of the Ring.
Exactly. And that's right when the world plunged into war.
Wow, what timing.
He wrote later, and I'm quoting here, "In spite of the darkness of the next 5 years, I found that the story could not now be wholly abandoned, and I plodded on, mostly by night, till I stood by Balin's tomb in Moria. There I halted for a long while."
Balin's tomb.
Yeah.
Man, that part always gets to me.
It's such a pivotal moment, right?
Yeah. The Fellowship is descending into darkness, literally, facing all those unknown dangers.
Totally. And to think that Tolkien himself was going through the darkness of wartime while he was writing that.
It just adds this whole other layer to it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You can feel the shadow of war in those chapters. But, Tolkien also includes moments of joy, of celebration, even with all that tension building.
Right, like Bilbo's farewell feast.
Exactly.
But it's not just a party, is it?
No, it's more than that. It's like a carefully crafted microcosm of Hobbit society.
Okay, so more than just the food and presents.
Much more.
I remember those details, though. It's so classic Hobbity.
It is.
But how does that scene connect to the bigger themes of the story?
Well, look closer.
Okay.
Tolkien mentions how anxious Bilbo was about the weather for the party.
Yeah.
And then how relieved he was when the sun came out.
Okay, so he's like any of us planning a big outdoor event.
Exactly. It's like a metaphor for Middle-earth itself. There's this brief respite, but a storm is coming.
I see what you mean.
And it's not just any party, remember. It's incredibly inclusive.
Oh, yeah.
Practically everybody who lived nearby was invited.
Even those who were accidentally missed, right?
Even those. And some came from outside the Shire.
So he's emphasizing the warmth and generosity of the hobbits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Setting it up as a contrast to Sauron's looming threat.
So even in this happy gathering, he's planting the seeds of conflict.
Exactly. And don't forget Bilbo's speech.
Oh, yeah, the one where he's standing on the chair.
Yes, under the illuminated tree so everyone could see him. Tolkien makes a point of that.
Okay.
And he starts with, "My dear people." Remember how the hobbits react?
They're all crammed in, happy, cheering.
They are. They're enthusiastic, though maybe a bit ironic.
Yeah.
But beneath all that merriment, there's this unspoken truth about the ring.
The truth that Bilbo hints at but can't fully reveal.
Exactly.
All right, I'm getting how Tolkien is layering those deeper meanings in.
Good. Now, how about the ring itself? How does he show its influence on Frodo early on?
I'm not sure. It's subtle, right?
It is, but it's there. Look at how Tolkien uses the word preservation to describe Frodo.
Preservation.
Yeah. Frodo stays youthful, even though he's getting older.
Oh, right. People think he's just lucky.
Exactly. He writes, "Some folk have all the luck," they said. But it was not until Frodo approached the usually more sober age of 50 that they began to think it queer.
Queer.
That's the word he uses. It's like a hint, right? This queerness.
That something's not quite right.
Yeah. The ring's power, its warping time, perception, all around Frodo before he even knows what it really is.
It's like a shadow creeping over the Shire.
Perfect way to put it. And Tolkien takes it further by showing us Frodo's inner struggle.
What do you mean?
Well, Frodo enjoys being Master of Bagan,
Sure, who wouldn't?
but he secretly regrets not going on adventures with Bilbo.
Ah, I see.
Tolkien even writes about Frodo having these dreams, these strange visions of mountains that he had never seen.
Those dreams. You think
Wow.
the ring is already influencing him, like whispering to him.
Possibly. Planting these seeds of longing for something more than the Shire.
It's like those of us who, want adventure but are too scared to leave our comfort zones.
Right. And that connects perfectly to Gildor's warning to Frodo.
The one about fencing yourself in?
The wide world is all about you.
Huh?
You can fence yourselves in, but you cannot forever fence it out.
Yeah, that line always stuck with me.
It's a powerful one.
It's so easy to ignore problems, like pretend they're not there. But they always find a way in.
They do. Even in peaceful places like the Shire.
But isn't Frodo choosing to leave? To face that wider world? That seems like he's taking control.
That's a good point. On the one hand, he's making a choice. But he's also being pursued.
Right.
His footsteps dogged, as Tolkien puts it.
So it's less about seeking adventure and more about protecting what he loves.
Exactly. He's driven by duty, not just wanderlust. And Gildor, he gives Frodo good advice.
Which is?
To follow Gandalf's lead, setting him on the path to that perilous journey.
Okay, so even in these early chapters, Tolkien is showing us Frodo as, like, a reluctant hero.
Right, someone thrust into a situation he didn't ask for. And the tension keeps building from there. As Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, they head into the Old Forest.
Oh, yeah, the Old Forest.
Remember how Pippin's worried about getting lost? And Frodo's hesitant to leave the woods.
Now that you mention it, that always seemed a bit odd to me. Why would he want to stay in the woods?
Well, that's the brilliance of Tolkien's writing.
How so?
He uses forests to symbolize the unknown, those forces of nature that are beyond our control.
I see.
They're dangerous, but they can also be a refuge, like the complex situation Frodo finds himself in.
Right.
Remember that encounter with the Black Rider on the road?
Oh, yeah.
When Frodo sees that dark black bundle following them?
Ugh, so creepy. Gives me chills just thinking about it.
It's a brilliant way to build suspense, isn't it?
It is. It's that primal fear of the unknown. Like you're being watched, but you don't know by what.
Exactly. Tolkien is a master at using atmosphere to create that tension. And it just gets worse as they continue on. Merry asks Frodo about his adventures and Farmer Maggot acting strange.
Oh, right.
And Pippin says, "We have all been scared. You would have been too if you had been chased for 2 days by black riders."
Whoa, that changes things, doesn't it?
It does. It shifts the tone from a lighthearted adventure to something much darker.
The stakes suddenly got a lot higher.
Absolutely. And then they're forced to make a difficult decision.
What is that?
To leave their home, to flee into the unknown.
So they escape through the tunnel under the hedge.
Secretly. Leaving everything behind.
They're being hunted.
Their innocence shattered.
That's the end of their carefree life in the Shire?
And the beginning of a much more perilous journey.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So we left off with those hobbits having to abandon the Shire.
Forced to leave behind everything they know, everything familiar.
Right. And their journey takes this, well, kind of dark turn.
Oh, yeah.
As they go into those wilds beyond the Shire.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And of course, they've got Gollum leading them.
Gollum.
Yeah.
He's always struck me as more like a necessary evil
Yeah, you need...
than an actual companion.
I mean, yeah.
His knowledge about those secret ways into Mordor, that's got to be valuable.
Oh, for sure.
But his motives, always so shady.
Yeah, you never really know with him.
Exactly.
And I think Tolkien uses Gollum to Well, to show that struggle
That struggle.
between good and bad, light and shadow,
Oh, right. Yeah.
Gollum's all twisted up by the ring.
Yeah.
But he still has those moments, surprising moments of, like, empathy.
I guess so, yeah.
Remember that journey through the dead marshes?
Ugh, don't remind me.
So creepy, right?
Dead things, dead faces in the water. One of the creepiest parts of the whole book, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Those faces always made me think of soldiers,
Oh, yeah.
lost in some ancient war, long forgotten.
It's definitely haunting, that image. And Gollum, when they ask him about it, his answer just makes it more mysterious.
What does he say?
He's all cryptic, like, you cannot reach them, you cannot touch them, only shapes to see, perhaps not to touch, no precious, all dead.
What does that even mean?
It suggests, like, this deep sorrow, that lingers. A reminder that conflict, war, it leaves scars.
Scars that last?
Yeah, even in a fantasy world like Middle-earth.
Right, and speaking of scars,
Oh.
their time in Fangorn Forest, that was pretty memorable too.
Oh, Fangorn. Totally different vibe, though.
Right, not creepy, more like,
Greymew.
yeah, and wise, full of nature.
Merry and Pippin, separated from the others, they meet Treebeard there.
Treebeard, the Ents.
Exactly.
The whole sequence is just like magical.
Treebeard, the way he talks, so slow and deliberate.
He's like the embodiment of that ancient wisdom.
Totally. He's not just a character, he's like a force of nature himself.
I love Treebeard.
Me too.
So wise and ancient, but then he's got this childlike wonder too.
Oh, for sure.
And when he talks about the entwined,
The lost entwined.
yeah, it breaks my heart every time.
It's so poignant, that sense of loss.
It makes you think,
About
about time and change and how even these ancient beings, they're affected by it.
Absolutely.
It makes you think about those things we hold dear
Yeah.
and how they can be lost or changed.
Over time.
Yeah. But Treebeard and the Ents, they're not just like sitting around watching time pass.
Well,
That decision to hold an Entmoot,
right, to discuss the threat of Saruman.
it shows they're willing to act,
Yeah.
to become agents of change themselves.
You're right, the Entmoot, it's significant.
Funny time.
Ents, they're deliberate, so slow to anger, but,
But,
as Treebeard says, not unchangeable.
interesting.
They can evolve, adapt to the world around them, and Saruman,
He really pushes them over the edge
he does, he forces them to act
to shake off that complacency.
and join the fight.
So their march on Isengard, it's not just about the trees. It's about, like, the interconnectedness of all living things.
Right, and the need to resist those who disrupt that balance.
Those who threaten nature itself.
Exactly.
When the Ents decide to fight, it's a turning point. It shows that even these, like, ancient beings, they're affected by this conflict.
Nobody escapes it.
Nobody.
Meanwhile, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, they're heading for Rohan.
Yeah. And Rohan's got its own set of problems.
For sure. They're under Saruman's influence.
Theoden.
Once a strong leader.
Now he's under the spell of Grima Wormtongue, that creepy advisor.
Wormtongue.
Yeah.
What a name, right?
Okay.
Just fits him perfectly.
He's like the embodiment of deceit.
Always whispering poison in Theoden's ear.
Yeah.
Exploiting his fears, his insecurities.
Ugh, so manipulative.
The worst kind of influence.
But thankfully, Gandalf shows up,
Just in time.
confronts Wormtongue, breaks Saruman's hold over Theoden.
And rallies the Rohirrim to fight back.
It's such a classic scene.
Oh, yeah.
Gandalf the Grey storming into Edoras,
Love it.
shaking things up, bringing Theoden back to his senses.
Like a breath of fresh air.
Exactly. This wave of, like, renewed purpose washes over Rohan.
It does.
Sweeps away all those lies Saruman's been feeding them.
It's pretty inspiring when you think about it.
It is.
And then, of course, there's the Battle of Helm's Deep,
Epic.
where the Rohirrim, along with Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli,
Don't forget those elves.
right, and a handful of elves, they make their stand against Saruman.
Helm's Deep is just wow.
What do you think makes it so special?
Visually, it's stunning.
Agree.
Tolkien's descriptions, they're so vivid.
He paints such a picture with his words.
I felt like I was right there on those walls, fighting alongside them.
I know what you mean.
But even with all that chaos, all that brutality, there are these moments of, like, incredible courage.
And self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
Theoden's bravery, Aragorn's leadership,
Yeah.
Gandalf's arrival, Erkenbrand and his forces.
It all comes together
It does.
to create this truly unforgettable battle.
A hard-won victory.
Absolutely.
A turning point in the war against Saruman.
So Saruman's defeated, for now.
For now,
But the real threat, yeah, he's far from finished.
nowhere near done.
Now, how does that Seeing Stone, the Palantir, fit into all of this?
The Palantir.
Yeah, that whole episode with Pippin.
Oh, that's a good one.
It seems so dangerous, the whole thing.
It is, and it's a perfect example of how Tolkien weaves all these different parts of the story together.
Right.
Pippin, he's curious, right?
He's always getting into trouble.
He looks into the Seeing Stone.
And boom, everything changes.
It's a reminder that even small actions,
Little things.
they can have huge consequences, especially Middle-earth.
It's like that butterfly effect, you know?
Exactly. One little thing can set off a whole chain reaction.
That changes everything.
Right. But why is it so dangerous to look into the Palantir? What makes it so powerful?
Yeah, remind me.
Well, the Palantiri, they're ancient artifacts
Like how ancient?
created by the elves.
The elves.
Ages ago, you know? They allow you to see across vast distances,
Really?
to communicate with others who have a stone, and even to, influence weaker minds.
That's a bit scary.
It is. They're very risky to use.
Especially if you're not prepared for it.
Exactly. If you're not trained or strong enough mentally and spiritually.
So Pippin, he looks into this thing and...
He makes contact with Sauron.
No way.
Yes. And Sauron, he thinks Pippin's the ring bearer.
Oh,
He
man.
tries to get information from him.
To trick him.
Yeah, promises him power, all that.
Classic Sauron.
Thankfully, Gandalf steps in.
Gandalf to the rescue again?
He shields Pippin from Sauron.
Wee-oo.
But this encounter, it doesn't just put Pippin in danger.
Oh, no.
Sauron learns something crucial.
What's that?
He thinks Saruman has the ring bearer,
So he sends
and Azul,
a ring wraith to Isengard.
to give Frodo.
Man, those ring wraiths.
They're terrifying.
In the early chapters, they scared me so much.
Those Black Riders, straight out of nightmares. They're like
Yeah.
messengers of despair.
Their presence alone is just chilling.
Exactly. And their arrival at Isengard, well, it sets off a whole new chain of events.
That leads to that final showdown.
But before we get there, there's one more thing we got to talk about.
Okay, what is it?
The Paths of the Dead.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Aragorn has to fulfill that ancient prophecy
He has to summon the dead men of Dunharrow.
to fight for Gondor.
That's intense.
It is. It's a test of courage, for sure, and leadership.
Going into that darkness, facing those ghosts.
The ghosts of his ancestors.
Yeah, the ones who swore to fight Sauron,
But they broke their oath
and now they're cursed, right?
to wander the earth.
So Aragorn is offering them a chance to, redeem themselves.
It's a way for them to finally fulfill their duty.
and find peace.
Right. But it's a complicated situation.
I bet.
A balance of power, obligation.
Oh, so?
Aragorn needs their help to beat Sauron,
Yeah.
but they need him to break the curse.
So they both need each other?
Exactly.
Now, how do Legolas and Gimli react to all of this? They're such different personalities.
Right. Well, Legolas, he's fearless. He's ready for the challenge.
What does he say?
I will come, for I do not fear the dead.
Classic Legolas.
But Gimli, he's not so sure.
The dwarf. Practical as always.
Exactly. He's like, are we really going to trust ghosts? Smart question, I think.
He reminds us that even the bravest can be scared, especially of the supernatural.
I relate to Gimli on this one, I think.
Me too.
Walking the paths of the dead, no thanks.
It's a harrowing journey, a test of their will.
But they get through it.
He do.
And Aragorn, he succeeds.
He summons the dead men to fight.
It's a big moment.
Huge.
A victory where it looked like all hope was lost.
Aragorn, the heir to Gondor,
Leading an army of ghosts.
against the forces of darkness.
That image, it's both terrifying and inspiring. Last time, we left off with Aragorn summoning those dead men of Dunharrow.
Talk about a game changer.
Seriously. But even with those ghostly legions, things are still pretty dire, right? The fate of Gondor, all of Middle-earth, it's all on the line.
And the tension is just building and building as Aragorn sets sail for Gondor with the dead men behind him.
But the shadow of Mordor is growing longer. You know, the siege of Minas Tirith has already begun.
It's classic siege warfare.
It is.
The defenders are outnumbered, they're tired, hope is dwindling.
But there's more to it than just the military side of things, isn't there?
Oh yeah, it's deeper than that.
It's a psychological battle, too. A fight for the very soul of Gondor.
So when the dead men arrive at Pelargir,
That's a turning point.
sure,
It lists the spirits of those defending the city.
gives them some much-needed hope.
And it strikes fear into the hearts of the enemy.
Imagine you're a corsair fighting for Mordor, and suddenly you see an army of ghosts coming straight at you.
Talk about a shock to the system.
But even with that victory at Pelargir, Mordor just keeps coming
Relentlessly.
and leading the charge against Minas Tirith.
Witch King of Angmar.
Sauron's most terrifying lieutenant.
He is a force to be reckoned with.
He's all about fear and manipulation, isn't he?
Exactly. His presence just casts this, dark cloud over the entire battlefield.
Even the brave King Theoden.
He falls victim to the Witch King's power during the Battle of the Pelennor Fields.
Man, Theoden's death, that always hits me hard.
It's a powerful moment.
He was a symbol of Rohan's resilience, a leader who'd overcome so much.
Yeah.
And to see him fall like that.
It really emphasizes the cost of war.
It shows how even the bravest can be brought down.
But Theoden's niece, Eowyn, she steps up.
She becomes this beacon of defiance.
Right. She refuses to just stand aside while the men fight.
She's not just a shield maiden, she's a warrior in her own right.
Exactly. A force to be reckoned with. And her decision to ride into battle with Merry.
A hobbit.
I know, right? It's a statement.
It shows that courage and determination, they can come from anywhere.
And they both defy expectations, don't they?
Big time.
It's really interesting how Tolkien plays with those traditional gender roles.
He turns them upside down.
And when Eowyn and Merry confront the Witch King.
One of the best moments in the whole story.
I agree.
Total David and Goliath situation.
The Witch King, spreading fear and despair for centuries, finally defeated by a woman and a hobbit.
Talk about poetic justice.
It shows that even the most powerful enemy can be overcome.
If you have the courage to stand up to them.
Exactly, to refuse to give in to fear.
But even with the Witch King gone, the battle's not over.
No, it's not.
Mordor's forces are huge, they just keep coming.
Like a wave of darkness trying to swallow everything.
So what hope do the defenders have? I mean, they're up against impossible odds.
Well, hope takes many forms.
Like what?
Like Aragorn's arrival at Minas Tirith.
Ah, right, with his allies.
The southern fiefdoms, the dead men.
Giving the defenders a much-needed boost.
He rallies them with that incredible speech.
What's he say? Remind me.
He says, "Sons of Gondor, of Rohan, my brothers, I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me. A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day. An hour of wolves and shattered shields when the age of men comes crashing down. But it is not this day. This day we fight."
Chills.
Right.
Aragorn is like the embodiment of hope in that moment.
He represents humanity's resilience against the darkness.
And it's not just the big battles and speeches that matter.
What do you mean?
Even Pippin, the youngest hobbit.
And the most impulsive.
Yeah, he plays a key role in defending Minas Tirith.
Pippin's journey has been quite something.
He's seen some stuff.
He has. The horrors of war. Facing Sauron himself through that Palantir. Watching Denethor descend into madness.
That'll change a hobbit?
It does. His innocence is shattered, but he comes out of it stronger, more determined.
He's a different hobbit from the one who left the Shire, that's for sure.
Completely transformed. And that newfound purpose, well, it shows in his actions.
How so?
Remember when Denethor tries to burn himself and Faramir alive?
Oh, yeah?
Pippin, he acts, he doesn't hesitate.
He gets Gandalf.
And saves Faramir's life.
Little Pippin, the most inexperienced member of the Fellowship.
Saving the life of one of Gondor's greatest leaders.
It's a reminder that even small actions can have a huge impact.
And then there's Sam.
Samwise Gamgee, the best.
Loyal, steadfast Sam, never losing faith in Frodo, even when it seems like all is lost.
Sam is the true hero of this story.
He's the unsung hero, the embodiment of perseverance, of true friendship.
His loyalty to Frodo, it's just so powerful.
Never gives up on him no matter what.
He's the one who keeps going step by step through Mordor, that horrible place.
His strength comes from his love for the Shire, for those simple things.
And remember what he says to Frodo.
When?
In Mordor, surrounded by all that darkness and despair.
What does he say?
He says, "There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for."
Gets me every time.
You too. It's like the essence of hope.
The resilience of the human spirit shining through even in the darkest of times.
And it's that hope, that belief in good, that lets Frodo finally carry the ring to Mount Doom.
That journey to Mount Doom, it's a test of Frodo's endurance, physically and emotionally.
He's carrying the weight of the world, literally.
And he doesn't break.
But he couldn't have done it alone.
No way.
It was Sam, their friendship, that kept them going.
Sam reminds Frodo what they're fighting for.
It's a powerful message about connection, the strength we get from those we love.
And in the end, it's Gollum, of all creatures, who plays a crucial role
Gollum.
in the ring's destruction.
I always felt bad for Gollum. He's so twisted by the ring.
His ending is both sad and, well, fitting.
He's consumed by his desire for the ring.
And it leads to his downfall.
falling into the fires of Mount Doom with the ring in his hand.
Redemption and despair all in one moment.
It shows that even the most broken people can still play a part, that even those who seem lost can find redemption.
And with the ring gone, Sauron's power is broken.
The armies scatter, the darkness lifts.
Middle-earth is saved.
It's a hard-fought victory, but a victory nonetheless.
It is, but as with all wars, the cost is high.
So many lives lost, so many good people gone.
The scars run deep.
But there's hope, right?
Amidst the grief and loss, yes, there's hope.
Aragorn becomes king.
Uniting Gondor and Arnor.
The elves, they sail west.
Their time in Middle-earth over.
And the hobbits, forever changed by their adventures, they return to the Shire.
Carrying those memories of their incredible journey.
It's an ending that's both happy and sad.
Bittersweet.
It reminds us that even the greatest victories come with a price.
But The Lord of the Rings, it's more than just a war story, isn't it?
It's about courage, friendship, hope, triumphing over despair.
And it's a story that still speaks to us today.
Generations later.
It offers these timeless lessons about resilience, compassion, the interconnectedness of everything.
So what does it all mean for us sitting here today? I mean, our world is a lot different from Middle-earth.
Right.
I think Tolkien shows us that even when things seem impossible, we can still fight for what's right.
To stand up for what we believe in.
Exactly. He shows us the power of hope, of friendship, and loyalty.
And the potential for anyone to become a hero, even in the most unexpected ways.
Well said. Well, everyone, that wraps up our deep dive into The Lord of the Rings.
I always find something new in Tolkien's work.
Me too.
It's just so imaginative. The depth of his storytelling, it's amazing.
Until next time,
Keep exploring.
keep asking questions.
And keep diving deep